What if I told you that there's a single command so powerful, so terrifyingly effective, that most people are genuinely afraid to even whisper it? Not because it causes harm, but because the moment those words leave your lips, reality itself begins to bend and reshape around you in ways that feel almost supernatural. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Has this ever happened to you? You've spent months, maybe even years, asking the universe for something: more money, better opportunities, meaningful relationships, only to find yourself stuck in the same frustrating cycle of waiting and wanting. You've tried positive thinking, vision boards, countless manifestation techniques, yet somehow your bank account remains the same, the phone doesn't ring with that dream job offer, and your life feels like it's moving through thick molasses instead of flowing with ease. Here's what most people don't realize about the power of their own voice. Florence Scovel Shinn, one of the most profound teachers of universal law, discovered something that challenges everything we've been taught about manifestation and prayer. She found that when you ask, beg, or plead with the universe, you're actually announcing to reality that you don't have what you desire. And the universe, acting like a perfect mirror, reflects that exact state of lack right back to you. But what if there was a completely different approach? What if instead of asking for what you want, you could command it into existence with the same authority that moves mountains and shifts the very fabric of reality itself? Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover might surprise you, and it will definitely challenge everything you thought you knew about manifestation. The ancient mystics understood something that modern self-help has forgotten: that your word isn't just sound vibrating through air. Your voice carries the creative power of the universe itself, and when you learn to wield it with proper authority, money begins to move, opportunities appear as if pulled into your orbit, and people show up in your life as though summoned by an invisible force. The difference between those who struggle for years trying to manifest their desires and those who seem to effortlessly attract everything they want isn't luck, circumstances, or even positive thinking. It's understanding the profound difference between the energy of asking and the energy of commanding. One keeps you small, powerless, and endlessly waiting. The other transforms you into the conscious creator of your own reality. What you're about to learn goes beyond typical manifestation advice. This is about stepping into a level of personal authority that most people never even consider possible. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that your word is law, not as beautiful poetry or inspiring metaphor, but as literal, scientific truth about how consciousness shapes the physical world. The question isn't whether this power exists within you, it does. The real question is whether you're ready to stop hiding behind the safety of asking and step into the responsibility of commanding reality itself. If this resonates with you, subscribe now. This channel is for those ready to move beyond hoping into commanding reality. Now, I want to go even deeper into this transformation, because there's a hidden truth about why this particular command can't be shared without proper preparation. You see, the human mind has been conditioned to believe that anything truly powerful must be complicated, expensive, or require years of training. We've been programmed to think that real change demands sacrifice, struggle, and complex rituals. But here's what happens when people hear something profoundly simple. They immediately dismiss it. Their minds reject the possibility that a few words could reshape their entire financial reality or completely transform their relationship with opportunity. This mental resistance isn't accidental. It's the very mechanism that keeps most people trapped in cycles of limitation. Think about your own journey for a moment. How many times have you found yourself whispering desperate prayers into the darkness? Perhaps you've caught yourself saying things like, "Please, just let me get through this month," or, "I hope something changes soon," or "maybe tomorrow will be different." These aren't just casual thoughts. They're declarations that program your subconscious mind and send clear signals to the universe about your perceived powerlessness. The impact of this endless asking goes far deeper than most people realize. Every time you plead with reality, you're unconsciously reinforcing the belief that you're separate from what you desire, that it exists somewhere out there beyond your reach. You wake up each morning carrying the same energy of lack that you went to sleep with, and the cycle perpetuates itself with mechanical precision. Behind the scenes of your conscious awareness, your subconscious mind is constantly listening to these internal conversations. When you say, "I hope I get that promotion," what you're really programming is, "I don't currently have the promotion, and I'm not sure I'm worthy of it." When you whisper, "Please let there be more money in my account," you're actually affirming the absence of abundance rather than its presence. This revelation about the psychology of asking versus commanding represents a fundamental shift in how we understand personal power. The most successful people throughout history, the entrepreneurs, the leaders, the visionaries who seemingly bend reality to their will, they operate from a completely different mindset. They don't ask permission from the universe. They assume authority over their circumstances. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this distinction better than most. She recognized that the very act of asking creates energetic distance between you and your desires. It positions you as the beggar rather than the rightful owner. But when you learn to command with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their words carry weight, everything shifts. Your voice takes on a different quality, your posture changes, and even the air around you seems to respond to this new authority. The decision to step into this level of personal power isn't just about manifestation techniques or positive thinking. It's about fundamentally rewiring the relationship between your consciousness and the malleable nature of reality itself. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to command," if this deeper understanding is resonating with you. Now, I want to reveal something that completely transforms how you understand the relationship between your words and your reality. Every single time you ask for something, whether it's more money, better health, or deeper relationships, you're essentially broadcasting a very specific message to the universe. You're announcing, with crystal clarity, that you don't currently possess what you're requesting. And here's the revelation that changes everything. The universe operates like a perfect mirror, reflecting back exactly what you declare about your current state. This behind-the-scenes mechanism explains why so many people remain stuck despite years of prayer, meditation, and positive thinking. They're unknowingly reinforcing the very lack they're trying to escape. When you say, "I need more money," the universe hears, "I don't have money." When you plead, "Please bring me love," reality registers, "I am currently without love." The very act of asking perpetuates the cycle of wanting without receiving. Florence Scovel Shinn discovered this hidden truth about the language of creation and made a radical decision to teach something completely different. She realized that the most powerful people throughout history, those who seemed to manifest effortlessly, operated from a fundamentally different mindset. They didn't ask for what they wanted. They assumed they already possessed it and spoke from that place of completion. This transformation in language represents a complete shift in identity. Instead of positioning yourself as someone who lacks and needs, you begin speaking as someone who already has and owns. Rather than saying, "I hope to become wealthy," you declare, "Wealth flows to me naturally." Instead of, "Please help me find my purpose," you state, "My purpose is unfolding perfectly." The impact of this linguistic shift goes far beyond positive thinking. It's actually reprogramming the fundamental frequency you're broadcasting to reality. The journey from asking to assuming requires a profound internal transformation. You must make the decision to stop seeing yourself as separate from your desires and start recognizing that what you seek is already seeking you. This isn't about denying current circumstances or pretending problems don't exist. It's about understanding that your current reality is simply the reflection of yesterday's consciousness, and that today's declarations are creating tomorrow's experiences. When you truly grasp this principle, you realize that begging the universe is like a millionaire standing in front of their bank account, pleading for money while the funds are already there waiting to be accessed. The Resources, opportunities, and connections you desire aren't absent from your life. They're responding to the energetic signature you're consistently broadcasting through your words and assumptions. This revelation about the creative power of assumption opens the door to a completely different way of existing. Write in the comments, "I choose assumption," if you're ready to step into this new way of speaking to reality. Now, I want to share something you can experience right this moment: the instant transformation that occurs in your physical body when you make the shift from asking to commanding. This isn't theoretical. It's something you can feel immediately. When you speak from a place of authority rather than desperation, your entire physiology changes in ways that are both subtle and profound. Try this simple experiment with me. First, whisper the words, "Please give me money," and notice what happens in your body. Feel how your shoulders tend to drop, how your chest might contract slightly, how your voice carries an undertone of uncertainty and smallness. Your body instinctively recognizes the energy of pleading and responds by making you feel diminished and powerless. Hit like if you felt that shift in your body during our conversation. It confirms you're ready for this level of responsibility. Now shift your posture, take a breath, and say with quiet certainty, "Money flows to me naturally." Notice the immediate difference. Your spine straightens almost. Automatically, your voice becomes steadier, and there's a quality of presence that wasn't there before. This physical transformation happens because your nervous system recognizes the energy of authority and responds by aligning your body with that power. This revelation about the connection between language and physiology explains why some people can spend decades asking, praying, and hoping without seeing meaningful change, while others who dare to command often witness movement within hours or days. The difference isn't about time, effort, or even spiritual worthiness. It's entirely about the energy and authority behind the words being spoken. Behind the scenes of conscious awareness, your subconscious mind is constantly reading these energetic signatures. When you speak from lack, it programs limitations. When you speak from authority, it activates creative forces that most people never access. The universe doesn't respond to the volume of your voice or the frequency of your requests. It responds to the certainty and authority that underlies your declarations. This hidden truth about manifestation speed challenges everything we've been taught about patience and waiting. Those who command aren't more spiritual or more deserving. They're simply operating from a different energetic frequency. They've made the internal decision to stop positioning themselves as beggars in relationship to their desires, and instead claim the authority that was always theirs to claim. The impact of this shift extends far beyond personal manifestation. When you carry this energy of quiet command into your daily interactions, people respond differently. Opportunities that seemed closed suddenly become available. Conversations that would have been struggles become effortless negotiations. Your presence alone begins to shift the dynamics of every room you enter. This transformation in how you relate to your own power creates a ripple effect that touches every area of your life. Write in the comments, "I feel the shift," if you're experiencing this change in your own body right now. Now, I want to expose the hidden truth about why most people never step into this level of personal authority. Even when they understand its power intellectually, there's a deep-seated terror that lives within the human psyche. Not a fear of failure, but a fear of success. More specifically, it's the fear of recognizing just how much creative power actually flows through your voice when you speak with genuine authority. The moment you begin to command rather than ask, something profound shifts in the atmosphere around you. You can actually feel the air becoming heavier, more charged with potential. It's as if invisible forces suddenly snap to attention, waiting for your next declaration. This energetic shift is so palpable, so undeniably real, that it frightens people who have built their entire identity around being powerless, small, and dependent on external circumstances. Behind the scenes of this fear lies a much deeper psychological pattern. Most people have become comfortable with powerlessness because it comes with a hidden benefit: the complete absence of responsibility. When you ask, plead, or beg. You can continue living in the safe space of waiting indefinitely. There's no pressure to own your results, no requirement to step into the role of conscious creator. You can blame timing, luck, other people, or the universe itself when things don't work out. But commanding reality changes everything instantaneously. The moment you declare something with true authority, you cross a line that cannot be uncrossed. You become accountable for your creative power in a way that makes hiding impossible. This transformation from victim to creator represents one of the most challenging psychological shifts a human being can make, because it requires surrendering the comfortable illusion of helplessness. This journey from asking to commanding demands a complete mindset revolution. You must be willing to release the safety of waiting and embrace the responsibility of immediate manifestation. When you speak with authority, reality doesn't have the luxury of delayed response. It must begin reshaping itself to match your declarations right away. This level of creative power feels almost supernatural to people who have spent their lives believing they were at the mercy of external forces. The impact of making this decision ripples through every aspect of your existence. Your relationships change because you stop approaching people from need and start interacting from completeness. Your career transforms because opportunities respond to the energy of someone who commands rather than someone who begs. Your financial reality shifts because money flows toward authority and away from desperation. This revelation about the psychology of power explains why so few people ever access their full creative potential, even when the tools and knowledge are readily available. Write in the comments, "I choose responsibility," if you're ready to release the safety of powerlessness. Now, I want to reveal the most profound truth that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered about how consciousness actually interacts with the fabric of reality itself. She understood something that modern science is only beginning to confirm, that the moment you genuinely assume and claim something as yours, the entire world begins reshaping itself to accommodate that declaration. This isn't poetic language or spiritual metaphor. This is the fundamental law governing how consciousness interfaces with the malleable nature of physical reality. Subscribe if you understand that your consciousness creates your circumstances. Every video here explores these deeper truths about personal power. Think about the implications of this revelation for a moment. When you make a true assumption, not just positive thinking or wishful hoping, but a genuine internal claim of ownership, invisible forces throughout the universe begin rearranging circumstances, moving people, shifting opportunities, and aligning resources to match your declaration. It's as if reality itself becomes your collaborative partner rather than something you have to struggle against or convince. This hidden truth about universal responsiveness explains why some people seem to live charmed lives where everything flows effortlessly, while others constantly battle against circumstances. The difference isn't luck, privilege, or divine favoritism. It's the willingness to assume ownership of your creative power and accept the full weight of responsibility that comes with it. Behind the scenes of most people's resistance to this principle lies an uncomfortable revelation. Admitting that your voice creates reality means there's literally no one else to blame for your current circumstances. No government, no economy, no family background, no past trauma can be held responsible for what you're experiencing right now. This level of personal accountability makes people profoundly uncomfortable because it eliminates every external scapegoat they've been using to avoid taking ownership of their creative authority. The journey toward this complete responsibility represents perhaps the most challenging psychological transformation a human being can undergo. Your entire identity has to shift from victim of circumstances to conscious creator of experiences. Every excuse, every story about why things are the way they are, every comfortable narrative about being powerless, all of it has to be released in favor of the sometimes overwhelming truth that you are the source of everything appearing in your life. This transformation in how you understand causation ripples through every decision you make. When you truly accept that your assumptions create your reality, You can no longer casually think negative thoughts or speak words of limitation. Every internal conversation becomes a creative act. Every declaration carries the weight of universal law. The impact of this awareness forces you to become incredibly conscious about the thoughts you entertain and the words you speak. Write in the comments, "I accept full responsibility," if you're ready to embrace this level of creative accountability for your life experience. Now, I want to help you recognize something that's probably been happening in your life for years, but you've been dismissing it as mere coincidence. You've actually experienced proof of this creative power countless times before. Those moments when you casually mentioned you'd hear from an old friend and your phone buzzed within minutes, or when you declared with unusual certainty that you'd land a particular job and the offer came through within days. These weren't random coincidences or lucky breaks. They were direct demonstrations of your natural creative authority operating without the interference of doubt or desperate need. In those moments, you spoke from a place of knowing rather than hoping, and reality responded instantly to that frequency of certainty. The difference was that your declaration carried the weight of authentic assumption rather than the weakness of asking. Think about the pattern behind these experiences. They usually happened when you were relaxed, confident, and speaking from a place of inner knowing rather than desperate wanting. You weren't trying to manifest anything. You were simply stating what felt true to you in that moment. This relaxed certainty is the exact energy signature that reality recognizes and responds to most powerfully. The revelation about these everyday miracles represents a crucial turning point in your understanding of personal power. Once you begin recognizing these moments as evidence of your creative authority rather than dismissing them as luck, something irreversible happens in your consciousness. You cross a threshold that fundamentally changes how you see yourself in relationship to your circumstances. This transformation marks what I call the point of no return. Once you truly taste the power of commanding reality, once you experience the immediate responsiveness of the universe to your authoritative voice, you can never again return to the smallness of asking and waiting. The contrast becomes too stark, too obvious. You realize with startling clarity that all those years of empty prayers, desperate hoping, and patient waiting were completely unnecessary because you were the power source all along. Behind the scenes of this awakening lies a profound shift in identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs to convince the universe to give you what you want, and start recognizing yourself as someone who naturally commands the cooperation of reality. This isn't arrogance or entitlement. It's the simple recognition of your birthright as a conscious being operating in a responsive universe. The impact of crossing this threshold extends far beyond manifestation techniques or self-help strategies. It's a fundamental rewiring of how you understand causation itself. You begin to see that every circumstance in your life is reflecting back the dominant assumptions you've been carrying, often unconsciously. Write in the comments, "I see the evidence," if you're starting to recognize these patterns in your own experience. Now, I want to address something you might be experiencing right now as we explore these deeper truths about personal power. There's likely a subtle fear or nervous energy moving through your body as you consider the possibility that your voice truly carries this level of creative authority. This physical response isn't something to dismiss or push away. It's actually the most powerful confirmation that what we're discussing is real. Think about it logically for a moment. If words were merely empty sounds floating through air, if human consciousness had no creative impact on reality, you wouldn't feel any physical response at all to these concepts. The fact that your nervous system is responding, perhaps with a flutter in your chest, a tingling in your spine, or a subtle shift in your breathing, means that some deeper part of you recognizes the truth of what's being revealed. This bodily confirmation represents your intuitive wisdom, acknowledging something your logical mind might still be questioning. Your cells, your energy field, your very essence knows that consciousness and reality are intimately connected, even if your conditioned thinking hasn't fully accepted this yet. The fear you feel isn't a warning to stay away. It's recognition that you're approaching something genuinely powerful. Behind the scenes of this physical response lies one of Florence Scovel Shinn's most profound insights about how reality actually operates. She taught that the world is yourself pushed out, meaning that everything you experience in your external circumstances is simply a reflection of what you've been projecting from your internal state. When you consistently beg, plead, and operate from desperation, you push out the energy of weakness, and life mirrors that weakness back to you through your circumstances. But when you learn to command, when you speak from authority and assumption, you push out the energy of power, and reality has no choice but to reflect that power back through opportunities, resources, and favorable conditions. This isn't metaphysical theory. It's practical psychology meeting universal law. The transformation in how you understand this mirror-like relationship changes everything about how you approach life's challenges. Instead of seeing problems as things happening to you, you begin recognizing them as reflections of internal states that can be consciously shifted. Instead of fighting against circumstances, you start changing the internal assumptions that are creating those circumstances in the first place. Like this video, if these concepts resonated deeper than just intellectual understanding, you're acknowledging this truth you can actually feel. This revelation about reality as self-expression opens the door to a completely different way of navigating your daily experience. Write in the comments, "I am the mirror," if this connection between internal state and external reflection is becoming clear to you. Now, I want you to experience something that will immediately demonstrate the difference between the energy of asking and the energy of commanding. This simple experiment will show you in real time how your nervous system responds to different frequencies of speech and why your body is actually the most reliable indicator of which approach carries true creative power. First, I want you to whisper the words, "Please give me money," and pay careful attention to what happens in your physical body. Notice how your shoulders tend to drop almost automatically, how your chest might contract slightly, how your entire energy field seems to diminish and feel smaller. Your voice probably carries an undertone of uncertainty, maybe even embarrassment. This physical response isn't coincidental. Your body instinctively recognizes the vibration of pleading and responds by making you feel diminished and powerless. Now, take a deep breath, straighten your spine, and say with quiet certainty, "Money is already mine." Feel the immediate transformation that occurs. Your posture naturally straightens, your voice becomes steadier and carries more weight, and there's a quality of presence that wasn't there moments before. This shift happens because your nervous system recognizes the energy of natural law and responds by aligning your entire being with that authority. This simple exercise reveals a hidden truth about why some declarations carry creative power while others fall flat. It's not about the specific words you use, it's about the energetic frequency from which those words emerge. When you speak, from the vibration of already having, your entire being broadcasts that assumption, and reality responds to that signal. Behind the scenes of this experiment lies a crucial understanding about commitment and creative power. You cannot half-step into commanding reality. This isn't a technique you can test casually while keeping one foot in the safety of asking and waiting. Most people perform this exercise once or twice, notice the difference, but then quickly return to the familiar patterns of pleading, because true commanding requires a level of commitment that feels dangerous to the ego. The journey toward authentic authority demands a complete decision. You either claim your creative power fully, accepting all the responsibility that comes with it, or you shrink back into the comfortable smallness of begging. There's no middle ground, no partial commitment that yields partial results. The universe responds to the totality of your assumption, not the hesitant testing of possibilities. This transformation in how you approach your own power represents one of the most significant mindset shifts you can make. Write in the comments, "I choose authority," if you felt the physical difference and you're ready to fully commit to this new way of speaking to reality. Now, I want to reveal something that might be difficult to hear, but absolutely crucial to understand about the hidden cost of hesitation. Every single time you choose to ask instead of command, every moment you spend hoping rather than declaring, you're actually delaying your desired outcome. This isn't just about patience or timing. It's about the fundamental mechanics of how reality responds to different energetic frequencies. Think about the pattern that most people live in without realizing it. They ask for something, then wait to see if it appears. When it doesn't show up quickly enough, they ask again, often with more desperation. This cycle of asking and waiting creates an energetic loop that actually pushes what you want further away, because each act of asking reinforces the assumption that you don't currently have what you desire. Behind the scenes of this dynamic lies a truth that the universe operates with infinite patience. It will continue reflecting your state of waiting indefinitely, never forcing you into manifestation, never overriding your dominant assumption. If you're broadcasting the frequency of, "I'm waiting for this to happen," reality will mirror that waiting back to you eternally. The universe doesn't judge this as good or bad. It simply responds to whatever signal you're consistently sending. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this principle so deeply that she challenged her students with a radical proposition. Imagine never asking again. Picture yourself moving through life, speaking only words that carry the weight of finality, the certainty of natural law. She recognized that reality rearranges itself with startling speed when faced with unwavering alignment and unshakable authority. This transformation requires a complete shift in how you understand your relationship with time and manifestation. Instead of thinking in terms of, "When will this happen?" you begin operating from, "This is already accomplished." The difference isn't semantic, it's energetic. When you truly align with the assumption of completion, the universe has no choice but to begin reflecting that completion back to you through your circumstances. The journey toward this level of unwavering alignment challenges every comfortable pattern you've developed around hoping, wishing, and waiting. It demands that you release the safety of uncertainty and step into the responsibility of conscious creation. The impact of making this decision extends far beyond individual desires. It fundamentally changes how you move through the world. Write in the comments, "I release waiting," if you're ready to eliminate asking from your vocabulary and speak only with the authority of someone who already possesses what they desire. Now, I want to clear up a crucial misconception that keeps most people trapped in ineffective manifestation practices. What we're exploring here isn't about magic spells, mystical rituals, or supernatural techniques that bypass natural law. This is about achieving a level of internal alignment so profound, so unshakable, that the world simply cannot resist responding to your declarations. When your inner authority perfectly matches, your outer expression, manifestation, stops being hopeful and becomes inevitable. Think about the difference between someone trying to convince themselves they're powerful versus someone who genuinely embodies that power. The first person might repeat affirmations, visualize outcomes, and perform various techniques, but there's always an underlying current of doubt, of trying to make something happen. The second person speaks from a place of such deep knowing that their words carry the weight of natural law itself. Behind the scenes of this distinction lies a hidden truth about how power actually operates in the world. The command I'm about to reveal isn't a magic spell that will automatically transform your life simply by repeating it. It's pure concentrated power, and power only responds to genuine authority. This is why some people can speak the exact same words with completely different results. The difference isn't in the syllables, it's in the identity from which those words emerge. Consider how a king's whisper can move entire nations, while a beggar's desperate shout goes completely unheard. The volume, the emotion, even the sincerity might be greater in the beggar's voice, but the impact is determined entirely by the authority behind the words. The king speaks from an unquestioned assumption of power, while the beggar speaks from an assumption of powerlessness, and reality responds to that fundamental difference in identity. This revelation about the relationship Between identity and impact explains why traditional manifestation techniques often fail. People attempt to use powerful tools while maintaining the internal identity of someone who lacks what they desire. They're essentially trying to command reality while thinking like beggars, and the universe responds to the deeper truth of their self-concept rather than the surface level of their techniques. The transformation required here goes far beyond learning new methods or practicing different exercises. It demands a fundamental shift in how you see yourself in relationship to your desires and circumstances. You must make the decision to release the comfortable identity of someone who needs, wants, and lacks, and step into the sometimes overwhelming responsibility of someone who already possesses creative authority. Write in the comments, "I claim my authority," if you understand that this isn't about techniques, but about embodying the identity of someone whose words naturally carry the weight of law. Now, I want to share the most critical piece of this entire transformation: the hidden truth that Florence Scovel Shinn discovered about the proper sequence for commanding reality. Most people approach manifestation completely backwards. They speak words of authority while still feeling like the person who lacks what they desire. But true power requires that you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled before any words ever leave your mouth. This isn't about positive thinking or visualization techniques. This is about a fundamental identity shift that must occur at the cellular level of your being. You must already be the version of yourself who has received what you're declaring, not the version who is waiting, trying, or begging for it to appear. The universe responds to who you are being in each moment, not who you're hoping to become. Behind the scenes of this process lies a crucial understanding about how consciousness actually creates reality. When you speak from the identity of someone who already possesses what you desire, your words carry an entirely different vibrational frequency. They emerge from completion rather than lack, from gratitude rather than desperation, from knowing rather than hoping. Most people make the mistake of watching their goals like a movie playing on a screen, observing their desires from the outside, imagining what it might be like to have them someday. But this external perspective maintains the psychological distance between you and your manifestation. Instead, you must step inside your desire and wear it like clothing that already fits perfectly. Feel the actual relief that flows through your body when you pay every bill with complete ease. Hear the sound of your own genuine laughter when you realize you have total freedom to make choices based on joy rather than survival. Taste the satisfaction of success as if it's a meal you've already finished enjoying. This level of sensory immersion creates neural pathways that convince your subconscious mind that the experience has already occurred. The transformation from imagining to embodying represents perhaps the most significant shift you can make in your manifestation journey. When you truly step into the feeling of completion, your entire nervous system begins broadcasting that reality to the universe. Your posture changes, your voice carries new authority, and opportunities start responding to this energetic signature of someone who already possesses what they once desired. This decision to embody rather than imagine requires courage because it means releasing the familiar identity of wanting and stepping into the sometimes overwhelming responsibility of having. Write in the comments, "I step inside now," if you're ready to stop watching your desires from the outside and start living them from within. Now, I want to reveal the profound difference between speaking from two completely different states of being. When you achieve true alignment, when you've genuinely stepped into the identity of someone who already possesses what you desire, something remarkable happens to the quality of your voice. Words no longer emerge from your mouth as hopes, wishes, or desperate attempts to convince the universe. They come as law, carrying the unmistakable weight of natural authority. This transformation in how you speak represents the difference between operating from lack and operating from the authority of completion. When you're speaking from lack, there's always an undertone of uncertainty, a subtle pleading quality that broadcasts your doubt to reality. But when you speak from completion, your words carry the same certainty as stating that water is wet or that gravity pulls objects downward. Behind the scenes of most people's manifestation attempts lies a critical error in understanding how this power actually works. They rush directly to the words themselves, thinking the specific phrase contains some kind of magic that will automatically transform their circumstances. They hear about a powerful command and immediately begin repeating it from a place of desperation and doubt, hoping that the syllables themselves will create the change they're seeking. But here's what happens when they approach it this way. The technique inevitably fails to produce the dramatic results they're expecting. Instead of recognizing that they spoke as beggars rather than rulers, they blame the method itself. They conclude that manifestation doesn't work, that consciousness doesn't create reality, that they're somehow broken or unworthy of receiving what they desire. The hidden truth is that the words themselves are never the source of power. The power lies in the consciousness from which those words emerge. A beggar could shout the most potent command in the universe and receive no response, while a king could whisper the same phrase and watch reality immediately rearrange itself to accommodate his declaration. This journey toward authentic authority requires a fundamental decision about how you see yourself in relationship to your desires. You must choose whether you're going to continue approaching manifestation as someone who needs something from the universe, or whether you're ready to step into the identity of someone who naturally commands cooperation from reality itself. The impact of making this internal shift extends far beyond individual manifestation. It changes how you carry yourself in the world, how people respond to your presence, and how opportunities seem to naturally flow in your direction. Write in the comments, "I speak as law," if you understand the difference between hoping for change and declaring it with the authority of natural law. Now, I want to expose a hidden truth about how the cosmic ordering system actually operates that will completely transform your approach to conscious creation. The universe doesn't respond to your mouth. It responds to your being. This isn't metaphysical poetry. It's the practical mechanics of how consciousness interfaces with reality. When you tell someone you won the lottery while your body knows you're lying, they instantly feel the disconnection between your words and your energy. The cosmic ordering system operates with the same sensitivity to authenticity. Think about how easily you can detect when someone is trying to convince you of something they don't truly believe themselves. There's always a subtle incongruence between their words and their energy that your intuition picks up immediately. This same principle applies to how reality responds to your declarations. The universe reads the totality of your being, your nervous system, your emotional state, your deep-seated beliefs, not just the sounds coming from your vocal cords. Behind the scenes of every powerful manifestation lies this fundamental requirement for alignment between what you're saying and who you're being. This is why Florence Scovel Shinn was so precise in her teaching about words spoken from identity. She understood that only declarations emerging from authentic being, from genuine completion, from the deepest levels of your self-concept carry the authority that reality automatically obeys. The transformation required here goes far beyond changing your vocabulary or learning new affirmations. It demands a complete reconstruction of your internal identity. Casual chatter, wishful thinking, and surface-level positive statements have no creative power because they emerge from the shallow layers of personality rather than the deep wellspring of authentic being. When you speak from your true identity as a conscious creator, when your words emerge from the same place that knows your heartbeats and your lungs breathe, reality has no choice but to respond. These aren't techniques you perform. They're expressions of who you fundamentally are. The universe recognizes the voice of its own consciousness, speaking through you, and immediately begins rearranging circumstances to match that declaration. This revelation about the relationship between identity and manifestation explains why some people seem to effortlessly attract everything they desire while others struggle despite knowing all the right methods. The difference isn't in their techniques, it's in the depth from which their declarations emerge. Write in the comments, "I speak from being," if you understand that true power comes from the authenticity of your deepest identity rather than the cleverness of your words. Now I want to reveal something profound about the mirror-like relationship between your consciousness and reality that will fundamentally change how you understand manifestation timing. The universe operates with infinite patience when you're broadcasting the frequency of waiting. It will mirror your state of asking and hoping endlessly, never forcing you into receiving, never overriding your dominant assumption that you don't yet have what you desire. This cosmic patience can literally last decades, reflecting back your waiting until you finally collapse from exhaustion and frustration. But here's where the transformation becomes dramatic. When you genuinely command from identity and alignment, when you speak from the authority of someone who already possesses what they're declaring, the universe doesn't delay. It moves immediately to match your energy because you're no longer broadcasting waiting. You're broadcasting completion. This shift in universal responsiveness isn't about the universe playing favorites or rewarding certain people. It's simply the natural law of consciousness reflecting back the energy you're consistently projecting. Behind the scenes of this mirror principle lies a choice that will determine the trajectory of your entire life. Take a moment to honestly consider the cost of continuing your current approach. Picture yourself 5 years from now, still asking, still, trapped in prayers that echo back only silence, still checking your bank account with that familiar knot of anxiety in your stomach. Feel the weight of that timeline, the endless hoping, the repeated disappointments, the gradual erosion of faith in your own creative power. Now compare that heavy timeline to a completely different possibility. Imagine never asking again, starting from this moment forward. Picture yourself moving through the world, speaking only words that carry the finality of universal law, declaring your reality with the same certainty that you state your own name. Feel how your entire nervous system would transform, how opportunities would begin flowing naturally in your direction, how people would start responding to the quiet authority in your presence. This decision represents perhaps the most significant fork in the road you'll ever encounter. One path leads to years more of the same patterns, the same limitations, the same frustrating cycles of wanting without receiving. The other path leads to immediate access to your creative birthright, to the recognition that you've always been the power source you were seeking outside yourself. The impact of choosing the path of command extends far beyond individual desires. It transforms your entire relationship with possibility itself. Write in the comments, "I choose command," if you're ready to release the familiar comfort of waiting and step into the responsibility of conscious creation. Now, I want to prepare you for something that might feel uncomfortable at first. The recognition that this principle isn't polite, gentle, or socially acceptable in the way most people understand personal development. This is raw authority we're talking about, the kind that makes people uncomfortable because it challenges every assumption they've been taught about humility, worthiness, and proper behavior. Once you genuinely step into this power, you realize with startling clarity that you never needed permission from anyone to create your reality. You only needed to claim what was always your inherent creative birthright. This awakening to your natural authority represents a complete departure from the conditioning that keeps most people small and manageable. Society teaches us to ask permission, to wait our turn, to hope that others will grant us what we desire. But the mystics throughout history understood something that threatens this entire system, that consciousness is the primary, creative force, and you are consciousness expressing itself in human form. Behind the scenes of this transformation lies a moment of truth that cannot be avoided. Before you can receive the command that reshapes reality, you must honestly assess your own readiness for this level of responsibility. This isn't about positive thinking or feeling confident. It's about genuinely asking yourself whether you're prepared to stop begging, stop waiting, and start speaking as one who commands reality itself. The journey toward this readiness requires confronting every comfortable excuse you've been using to avoid your own power. Are you ready to release the safety of being a victim of circumstances? Are you prepared to own every result that follows your declarations? Can you handle the weight of recognizing that your voice literally shapes your experience? This internal assessment determines everything about the effectiveness of what follows. Most people discover they're not actually ready, and when they reach this point, they realize they've become attached to the identity of someone who struggles, someone who waits, someone who needs external validation or permission. The decision to step beyond these familiar limitations requires a kind of courage that goes far deeper than momentary inspiration. This transformation demands that you make peace with the possibility of being misunderstood, of operating from a frequency that most people around you won't recognize or appreciate. Write in the comments, "I am ready," if you've honestly assessed your willingness to claim this level of creative responsibility. Now, I want to prepare you for what happens the moment you cross this threshold with complete alignment. Once you speak the command we're approaching with genuine authority, once you declare it from the deepest place of knowing rather than hoping, something irreversible occurs in your consciousness. You can never return to living as a beggar in relationship to your desires. The familiar comfort of waiting, hoping, and wishing becomes impossible because you'll have permanently stepped into the role of reality's director rather than its passive observer. This transformation represents a point of no return that most people intuitively sense, which is why they resist taking this final step even when they understand the principles intellectually. There's a part of your psyche that recognizes crossing this bridge means abandoning every excuse, every story about powerlessness, every comfortable identity built around being at the mercy of external circumstances. Behind the scenes of this moment lies Florence Scovel Shinn's most profound warning about the nature of consciousness and creation. She understood that when you truly accept your word as law, not as beautiful metaphor, but as literal truth, everything about your relationship with reality transforms instantly. Your voice stops being mere sound waves moving through air and becomes pure command. And law doesn't ask, doesn't hope, doesn't wish. Law declares with absolute authority and expects immediate compliance. The journey toward this recognition challenges every assumption you've carried about how the world works. Most people live their entire lives believing that circumstances create consciousness, that external events determine internal states, that reality happens to them rather than through them. But this awakening reveals the opposite, that consciousness creates circumstances, that internal states determine external events, that reality emerges from the declarations you make about what's possible. This shift in understanding causation represents perhaps the most radical transformation available to human consciousness. When you genuinely grasp that your word carries the creative force of universal law, every casual thought becomes a potential creation. Every spoken declaration becomes a cosmic order that reality must fulfill. The decision to cross this bridge requires releasing every comfortable limitation you've been using to avoid the full weight of your creative responsibility. Write in the comments, "I cross the bridge," if you're ready to abandon the safety of powerlessness and embrace the sometimes overwhelming truth of your authority over reality itself. Now, I want to share with you the specific words that have been building toward this moment throughout our entire journey together. The command that bends reality, the phrase that carries such authority that most people are afraid to even whisper it, is deceptively simple. Nothing resists my voice. These 4 words, when spoken from proper alignment and the identity of someone who already possesses what they desire, create immediate vibrational shifts that reality has no choice but to accommodate and reflect. But before you speak this command, understand that it's not the syllables themselves that carry power. It's the consciousness from which they emerge. When you declare, "Nothing resists," my voice, from the place of genuine knowing, from the identity of someone who has already crossed the bridge from begging to commanding, something profound happens in the invisible realm where thoughts become things. The moment you speak this phrase with true authority, you'll feel a distinct vibration moving through your physical body. This isn't imagination or wishful thinking. It's your nervous system recognizing that you've stepped into a frequency that most people never access. Your chest might feel heavier, yet lighter simultaneously. Your breath may deepen naturally, and there's often a subtle electric quality that seems to emanate from your very cells. Behind the scenes of this physical response lies a recognition that goes far deeper than conscious awareness. The universe itself is acknowledging the voice of its author, speaking through human form. When you truly embody the truth that nothing resists your voice, money begins moving in your direction without you having to chase it. Opportunities start appearing as if pulled into your orbit by an invisible force. People show up in your life who seem perfectly positioned to help you achieve what you've declared. This transformation happens because you're no longer broadcasting the frequency of someone who needs permission, approval, or external validation. You're operating from the frequency of someone who naturally commands cooperation from reality itself. The decision to speak this command from authentic authority marks the end of your relationship with limitation and the beginning of your conscious partnership with the creative forces of the universe. Write in the comments, "Nothing resists my voice," if you're ready to claim this level of authority and step permanently into the role of reality's conscious director. Now, I want to reveal something crucial about what happens when you take the step of writing this command publicly. When you declare, "Nothing resists my voice," in written form, you're doing far more than simply sharing words with others. You're actually stamping this declaration into your personal timeline, transforming it from mere thought or fleeting sound into documented reality. This act of public documentation creates a permanent energetic signature that becomes part of your recorded experience, something the universe reads and responds to as established fact rather than wishful thinking. Behind the scenes of this process lies a hidden truth about how consciousness interacts with the fabric of time itself. When you write something with genuine conviction, you're creating an anchor point in your timeline that draws future experiences toward that declared reality. It's no longer just an internal assumption. It becomes external evidence of your commitment to this new identity. The transformation that occurs after speaking this command with proper authority is immediate and unmistakable. Your physical body undergoes a shift that you can feel within moments. Your breath naturally becomes deeper and more rhythmic, as if your nervous system is recalibrating to accommodate a higher frequency of operation. There's often an electric quality of awareness that seems to emanate from your cells, a subtle vibration that indicates something fundamental has changed in your relationship with reality. This isn't coincidence or placebo effect. It's biological recognition that you've stepped into a frequency most people never access. Your body instinctively knows when you've crossed from the energy of asking to the energy of commanding, and it adjusts accordingly. The impact of this shift extends far beyond the physical sensations you experience in the moment. Once you've made this declaration with authentic authority, reality begins moving in response to your new energetic signature. Opportunities that seemed closed suddenly become available. Conversations that would have been struggles transform into effortless negotiations. People start responding to an authority in your presence that wasn't there before. The journey toward this level of conscious creation requires complete commitment to the identity of someone who naturally commands cooperation from the universe rather than someone who hopes for favorable circumstances. Write in the comments, "Reality is moving," if you can feel this shift beginning to occur in your own experience right now. Now, I want to share how this transformation becomes a living practice that reshapes every aspect of your daily experience. Florence Scovel Shinn understood that we rise as high as our dominant feeling, which means the thoughts and declarations you carry into each day literally determine the frequency you operate from. When you make "Nothing resists my voice" your first conscious thought each morning, before checking your phone or engaging with external circumstances, you establish an energetic foundation that carries authority into every interaction throughout your day. This practice transforms how people respond to your presence in ways that might surprise you. Conversations that would normally involve negotiation or persuasion become straightforward agreements. Phone calls that you dreaded making suddenly result in favorable outcomes. Opportunities that seemed unlikely begin saying yes almost automatically. This isn't about manipulation or forcing others to comply. It's about operating from a frequency that naturally invites cooperation and positive response. Behind the scenes of this daily implementation lies a crucial understanding about consistency and identity. Your subconscious mind is constantly reading the signals you send about who you believe yourself to be. When you consistently begin each day by claiming your authority over circumstances, you're programming your nervous system to expect cooperation rather than resistance from the world around you. But here's the ultimate truth that most people aren't prepared for. Life will test your newfound authority. The moment you begin commanding reality with genuine conviction, circumstances will appear that seem designed to pull you back into asking, begging, and waiting. Bills might arrive unexpectedly, opportunities might appear to stall, or relationships might become temporarily turbulent. This isn't the universe punishing you or proving that the principle doesn't work. This testing phase is actually reality rearranging itself to match your new command. It's the old patterns being shaken loose to make room for the new frequency you're establishing. Your job during these moments isn't to collapse back into desperation or doubt. Your responsibility is to stand firm in the storm and declare again with even greater authority until even the storms themselves bow to your voice. The journey through this testing phase separates those who merely dabble in consciousness principles from those who commit fully to conscious creation. Write in the comments, "I stand firm," if you're prepared to maintain your authority even when circumstances temporarily appear to contradict your declarations. So here we are, at the place where most people turn away because they've heard what they came for, but you've stayed through this entire journey with me. That tells me something important about who you are and what you're truly ready to embrace. The fact that you're still here means you understand this isn't just another manifestation technique or positive thinking exercise. This is about fundamentally transforming your relationship with reality itself. If this conversation has resonated with you, if you felt those physical shifts we talked about, if you recognize yourself in this exploration of authentic authority, then you're exactly where you need to be. This channel exists for people like you, those who are ready to move beyond hoping and wishing into the realm of conscious command. Every video here builds on these same principles, taking you deeper into the practical application of consciousness as the primary creative force in your life. Leave a comment right now saying, "This message was meant for me," if you made it all the way through with us. When I see those words, I'll know you're part of this community of conscious creators who understand that your voice carries real authority over circumstances. And if you felt that connection we've been building throughout this entire exploration, hit the like button. It's a simple way to acknowledge what we've shared here and help this message reach others who are ready for this level of truth about personal power. There's a video right here that takes this understanding even further, showing you exactly how to implement this authority in specific areas of your life, your finances, your relationships, your career. Click and continue with me over there, because this is just the beginning of what becomes possible when you truly accept that nothing resists your voice.